I remember that time you fell asleep and you forgot to come to the podcast.
No, that's actually slipping my mind right now.
Do you remember yesterday?
No, that's again slipping my mind.
So I made cake.
That's a fucking proper way to deal with that.
Turned a negative into a delicious positive, having chocolate red velvet cake. So the afternoon was a complete loss.
All right, that's fair. Fair.
Roll those credits. From Sydney, Australia, all the way to Portland, USA, two misfits hang out after class to riff on the B-sides of professional life. These are your professional misfits. All the way from Sydney, Australia, I am your host, Christopher Sellers.
I'm from Portland, Oregon. I'm Broedy Ipox.
And we are your professional misfits. We riff on the B-sides of life. And we have a sponsor, but I thought I'd give it a twist, Broedy. I thought, what if we were an ASMR podcast? So let me lay on you some ASMR promo. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes, please.
The Professional Misfits is brought to you by IGU, an old game with a new twist, where modern innovation and nostalgia come together to bring you tag for today. Thank you, IGU.
It sounded like it sounded like a goddamn beverage commercial.
That's not such a bad way to go. That's not so a bad way. All right, what episode? We're at 57.
57.
Yeah. Welcome to episode 57, Misfits. So you got cake and you've got ASMR and drink promos. What are we riffing on today? We're solving the culture war today, Misfits. I said to Broedy, pick any spicy topic in modern trend that's currently pissing you off, and we'll discuss it. We'll solve the universe. So that's what we're going to talk about today. You had 3 on your list. What were the 3 on your list? And then we'll get down to the one that you eventually chose.
Okay. Let me pull up Joyce here.
All right.
I actually have like 30 million on this list, but the 3 that I landed on were the role of AI in content creation and its impact on creators. Then second, my choice, the Ozempic craze and the influence on body image.
Mm-hmm.
And then the quiet quitting phenomenon of work culture and social media. So yeah, all 3 of those were actually, for me, pretty damn relevant. Like I said, I went through too many things with choice, and those were the 3 that just really stuck out to me as number 1, relatable, because I think in some way each one of these has touched everybody, in some way. And then 2, just for the fact that they are kind of a social media trend right now. It's just this is the shit you hear about constantly. People quitting working, people on the new diet, or fucking following a new influencer, or fucking AI. Like, for instance, today I just saw someone losing their shit on LinkedIn. They posted a video that they made with it was an AI avatar, right? And then they just punch in a script and the AI avatar reads it, and they're like, look at this, you can't even tell at first glance this is fake and completely generated off a script I wrote, and blah, all this stuff. And like, granted, if you didn't spend more than 30 seconds looking at this thing, you couldn't tell, right? But spend that 30 seconds really critically thinking about what you're watching, and it's so obvious, it's ridiculous. The 2 things that I found interesting about this dude freaking out was the fact that it was so real to him.
Yeah.
But then 2, to me, if it's not real now, what will it look like in a year, maybe 2, and it might actually be kind of fucking creepy.
Well, okay. I know we're talking about something else for today, but since you opened this door, I'm going to walk through it, and here's my rant.
Please.
So I wrote an article. It's at least 18 months ago, but I wrote an article about this with AI and trust. Okay, and it's the same thing. There's a lot of tech bros on LinkedIn going, because there's AI influencers now, in different countries, and they're building communities and followings and all this sort of shit. And so you've got a whole bunch of older dudes going, what the fuck is it's the next wave, holy shit, like it's the end is nigh. And so I'm like the kid in the back of the room going, hey yo, this isn't new. And I think you're kind of missing the point. Like artificial characters aren't new. Like The Simpsons has been selling merch for over 30 years. Right? Disney's been doing this for a long, long time. So the idea of creating a character, putting a voice and identity behind it in order to sell shit, like, isn't new. South Park.
Fair.
Right? And if you go, but they might be doing political commentary, they might be influencing this and that. And like, South Park has been animating satire for the same thing, the better part of 30 years. Right, but
So what's the disconnect then between what we've consumed and what's being generated now?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll take a stab at this because there's one. It's AI hype. That's the big one, right? This new tool will holy fuck. It's like no
shiny object syndrome.
1000%. I mean, what's the outcome? Fuck. Too many thoughts running through my head at the same time. But it's shiny new tool, right? Now, the difference is between, let's say, South Park, The Simpsons, Disney, and AI influencers is like this tool has now democratized, the ability for one to stand behind like an artificial character, right? And say what they think and do what they think. But still, if you've been around on YouTube for a while, you know that that's not new. Right? For me to have a persona or an artificial character or whatever, that's not new. Anyone who's in the arts can say, yeah, historically, this has been done for kind of like thousands of years. Like the Greeks stood on stage in masks and performed. Like the concept of the mask, folks, isn't new, whether it's digital or physical, right? But the reason why this ties to my article from like 18 months ago is like no one confuses Trey Stone and Matt Parker for Kyle, Kenny, Cartman, and Stan. Right? There's a clear delineation between these are the creators behind said identity. What AI can start to lean into is conflating and confusing both, like on purpose. Right? And this is why I wrote the article. It's not that you can't do this because you probably already have the tools to simulate all of this shit. Is that you're not factoring in the outcome when you do. Because an audience, the people watching your news or even your community in the social media, who are humans, right? Don't like being lied to. Don't like being manipulated, don't like being led on and having their trust abused. And the really simple indicator that this will go exactly the same way was Instagram being influencers using Instagram to sell shit. And then the followers of these influencers are going, this sounds off. Like, what the fuck is this cream? What is this mattress? What is this, like, whatever? And they realize, like, we need to highlight that this is a sponsored thing.
You got famous eating hot shit and now you're selling me a mattress.
Right. So we don't like feeling sold to without sort of our warning or consent. Right? So don't tell me that, and this is where it comes down to AI and trust. It's because I had a few clients who wanted to start employing AI early for like help desks and all this sort of shit. And I'm like, cool, like to what end is this tool going to serve? Like, what's the outcome that you want, right? And they keep saying it can be as good as a real person. It can be as real as a real person. I'm like, sure, follow this thread all the way through. It's like, because you want the bot to simulate a real, you basically want it to con your customer or your audience or your buyer into believing that this person or thing is real. And so once they figure out that it's not, you've lost them forever. And then you've lost hundreds and thousands of these people. It comes down to trust. So this adoption of like AI, number one, the adoption of AI characters and it's going to replace all humans and it's the end of humanity is just not fucking true, because there's an audience that is aware that you're doing this. Like you're giving me a show, you're giving me an art of, I don't believe Bart Simpson is real. No,
Okay.
no more.
Really though, I love this analogy. I genuinely do, because I don't think in context the masses looks at it that way, and that's where, to me too, now you saying that, it clicks for me that I can so easily disassociate. It may help that I've created some of that stuff, and played with and tinkered with those things, but what the hell? Some people, like you said, it's not an exaggeration, folks. There are people actually losing their fucking mind out there, thinking this is truly the end. The end.
And of course, LinkedIn's the worst, because you get the worst of both ends of the scale. You've got the tech hype bros going, we'll never need filmmakers, we'll never need animators, we'll never need all of this shit. I'm like, bro, you know nothing about storytelling or film structure or anything else like that. Again, you're looking at the tool in isolation of its context. I get why you're jerking off over it, but it's not as impressive as you think it's going to be. And then all the way at the end of the scale, you've got like a lot of marketers going, it's the end of marketing. It's the end of all these things. It's the end of social media. It's the end of news credibility and blah, 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 blah. So again, people seem to conflate AI and the character with, one, the human and the creator behind it, but also the impact you're supposed to have on an audience or on a consumer. Right? And it comes down to this, like, was it no like trust? This sort of little framework is, if I can't trust the artificial character or what's on the screen in front of me, I'm never going to buy from you. I'm never going to listen to what it is that you have to say. So if you're using it's bizarre. It's bizarre to me, and tech bros are always fucking like this. They think, oh, we can just create a thing, and because we've created it, an audience will go for it for reasons, or they'll just believe it for reasons. It's like, do you think the masses are unaware of the con? Do you think they're unaware of what AI is? Do you think that they're unaware that there's artificial programs and all this sort of stuff? People are already fairly cynical, well, the skeptical and cynical of social media as it is.
Yep.
After
of people in general now, because of social media. Right.
And so in what way do you think that's going to solve this issue of trust? But again, they don't see the world like that. They look at this bot, look how realistic it can be, and it's like, I don't get it. I don't. Yep. I understand what you're trying to do, but you're completely misdirected in the sort of outcome that you think you're going to achieve.
Yeah, and look, I'll say this too, and we won't stay here too much longer, because I want to hear what you wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah.
What's the ulterior outcome, right? Like, is it that this thing does become so real or so creative that it does replace? And look, I mean, let's just say, right? But in a fantasy world, let's say that it does. What good is that? What fucking good is that?
Here's the other thing with AI and social evolution and intelligence, is it doesn't happen in isolation. And we've learned in over 10 or 20 years of even having social media, because now it's taken this long to gather all the data and all the studies. You go, oh shit, people are really lonely. Like, even though this is the tool to be the most connected with anything and everything in the world, people are more lonely now than they probably have been in history. There seems to be a higher level of anxiety. There seems to be higher levels of depression. We seem to be, like, productivity is still pushed like driven down our throats, even though we have the tools to operate faster, smarter, and better than we have for the last 100 years. So all of these sorts of things, and especially with the disconnect in relationships and intimacy and that whole world of the human condition, which arguably has social media and the like has had a detrimental impact on. And so AI, when it rolls around, is surely an extension of this disconnect and disassociation of genuine human connection.
It's just exacerbating the issue.
Well, yeah. So we can all see that. Now, the problem is because we can normally focus on one thing at one time. The skeptics and the naysayers focus on this nihilistic pathway. Like, this is what it will be. It will be dystopian. We're all going down this funnel and it's all going to end. Now, this isn't anything new, folks. People have been doom saying for quite some time, for generations. But there's also the potential that now that we're sort of in the middle of this and we realize that social media isn't entirely great for us, that dating apps aren't entirely great for us, that, porn consumption and all this sort of stuff isn't great for us, that we need human contact, that we need intimate relationships, that we need good communication, that we need physical touch, that we need all of these social factors that artificial devices don't deliver. With this realization, you can calibrate. Hopefully, so regardless of what AI comes on the scene to do, I'm giving people a lot of credit, but even individually, for you misfits who are listening, like you can understand the dystopian future, but you can also understand, well, like, what I personally need is this. So you can still seek out what I personally need rather than just buy into the dystopian future. Like, it's that classic thing of like, social media and phones have fucking ruined everything. It's like, great, cool, turn your phone off. Like, you have that. Right. You have that potential. Right. Like you have that control and you have that potential. You haven't ceded all of your autonomy to said thing.
That's one thing too, though, that I actually wanted to talk about in this episode, because look, I think in a cultural sense, and look, I can't even claim to be smart enough to know if it's social media or if it's just the climate as it is. I feel like kind of what you're talking about now, there's also this huge like difference of responsibility. So same thing like you're saying, where it's like, okay, I fucking hate social media. It sucks. It's fucking ruining everything. Okay, shut your fucking phone off. Okay, but that person then goes, yeah, but no one else is going to shut their phone off.
Hi, that's me. Like, yeah. And, okay. All right, sorry, I'll let you finish your thought and then I'll...
No, that's it. Please take it away, because that's...
Yeah, fantastic. So it works like this. Great. I once a month, like, I delete all the dating apps because they're shit. I'm back at that month. And then it's like, shit, well, how do I meet someone? How do I meet anyone? Right? And you go, cool. Now that I don't have this easy answer, this lazy easy answer, now I have to come up with something on my own. Oh, fuck, that sucks. It's like, yeah. And then, yeah, it does. But then, what I would want to do, like, yeah, I could walk to the bookstore. Like, okay, let's do that.
Why do I love that so much? That was just Misfits. That's the tiniest shift. That's the tiniest fucking shift. What do I want to do? Yeah. What do I want to do?
So the excuse is, but no one else will do it. And we all know that's a bitch excuse. Like, come on.
1,000. Yeah, I agree.
Right. But then, but the thing is, you need to give up the thing in order to then, like, create space for new things.
Yep. Yep.
And so then once you put that down and it's not an option, once the crutch isn't an option, you ate too much cake. You then psychologically and then realistically have to find something, other ways, other pathways, or whatever, to do what it is that you want to do. Right.
Well, and I'd argue if you commit to any one of those things, like you're saying, and just kind of do it. Like, yeah, and look, we both said it. It sucks. Some of that shit sucks. Like being the 1% isn't always as fucking
Oh, it's
cool
not
as people
comfortable.
make it say. Fuck
No,
it,
no,
it's
no.
not. But I'd argue that in that space is just like you're talking about when you'd actually attract the people that are the same, right? Because
Yeah.
look,
The other people at
I
the bookshop. Yeah.
really, because I'm not on my phone, I'm at the bookstore. So who else is there? Somebody that's thinking probably very similar to me, and I can fuck with that. And how easy is that? How easy is that to just explore? And it's so funny because you would assume that with the cultural hype of being you, right? Like that the exploration side of that would be just as hyped, but it's almost not, right? It's like you have to
No.
fucking know who the fuck you are
You're supposed
right
to
off the
arrive
rip.
fully realized,
Right. And if you aren't, you're a fucking weirdo. Like you're weird, right? And that's the thing. I love that shift. What do I want to do? And
Well,
it's
here's a
dude.
here's a cool real life example. Like my bro down in Taz, a couple of weeks ago, he surprised me by saying that he went to a mental health first aid sort of camp course,
That's
and I'd
awesome.
never heard of it. Yeah, but it was sort of how do you identify like high risk individuals for mental health, and then
Yeah.
what steps should you take, like because you're not a trained medico and everything else, but like how should you handle it, what steps should you take, and other, I don't know, randomly ends up there. But being in that group and sort of engaging with, I think most of them were men, I'm unsure, but
Hmm.
out of that came like, hey, well, rather than just do this sort of course, I think it's once a fortnight they have a games night.
Hmm.
And so they all just get together and they play whatever nerdy games.
Yeah.
And so then he's been doing that, once a fortnight, every fortnight with the lads. And so when I call him and talk to him, like, how's it going? He's like, oh yeah, played this really cool card game, or like played this really like cool board game, and like rah 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 rah. And so this is what it comes out of, Misfits. It's often not always the first step that you take, but like you take the first step and then you kind of get blown one way or you get offered another way, and then another door opens and you sort of find yourself up somewhere serendipitous, and then you're playing nerdy games once a fortnight and having a ball. But then out of that,
And your fucking mental health is better
right,
than it's ever been.
and you've got a community and you've met some people that you haven't met before, and you're just sort of pushing yourself outside that comfort zone, which means if you've done it once, you can do it a few more times if you wanna. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And so props to the bro for that.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
But you
Okay.
wanted to talk about Ozempic. I
Yeah.
know we
Well,
spent 25 minutes talking about AI, but
well, look, it's funny too. That's kind of what happens, Misfits, is we come into this, we have a structure, we have a plan, but we also want the conversation to be real. And when we were talking about things culture, AI is fucking relevant right now. I mean, holy fuck.
so
It's like
hot right
Chris said.
now.
Uh, and the thing is, like you said, I think, and you painted that really well. It's almost like there's no middle ground right now, right? Like it's almost like there's no middle ground, no people that look at it in context to what it is. And I also love the way that you frame it as a tool. Like I don't think a lot of people look at it as a tool. They kind of like precursory look at it as, like you were saying, as a generator, as a
Yeah,
creator,
this
as a,
is the solution. Like here's the
and
video.
are you
Here's the
high?
video of it.
People use AI. Like you said, use AI. I don't even give a fuck if it's a chat bot. I don't care if it's an image generator. I don't give a fuck if it's chat GPT. Use AI for more than fucking 5 minutes and you will understand the limitations that Chris is talking about. It doesn't have what we have. And I'm on the same boat as you, where I genuinely don't believe that it ever will. It ever will. And even if it were to get close, even if we're to get close, I still think, as much as people are scared of it, AI would need a human connection to be anything more than it is.
Well, I briefly caught that there was quite a good article in the New Yorker recently, and I think the author is Ted Chiang. Correct me in the comments, please. But he's a science fiction author, and he was asked sort of about the role of AI, and he was another person who sort of made the point of like, well, it lowers our expectation and our bar of now what is possible or could be accomplished, let alone like what the arts is and what writing is, because that's what he's specifically talking about. So it lowers this bar basically to the ground, and that's something that we've talked about previously. But I made the point, it's like look, again, like it's still a tool, and just because people have access to AI, in the same way that having a digital camera in your phone hasn't turned us into a generation of, world-class photographers. It hasn't. Right. Have every office and every home having Microsoft Word hasn't turned us into a generation of Shakespeare's. So my disappointment, and again, because everyone seems to be missing the issue, like AI, I'm like, cool. It's like what you're asking AI to do right now, creatively speaking, specifically, is entirely possible by humans, and we do it better, right? Now, getting to your point of like it's the tool and whatever else, like let's say even in like 5-10 years, it can now do all sorts of things. It can do quantum computing and all this sort of shit. Great. Everyone, let's call it a fancy pencil. So now everyone has fancy pencils, right? The playing field is level. Yep. Because it's not the new shiny thing. Everyone has shiny pencils. Like no one had iPhones before. Now everyone's got iPhones and right? So you've all got the same tools. What's going to separate good from exceptional? What's going to separate a winner from a loser? What's going to separate original from repetitive? What's going to separate and like even an army that wins versus one that doesn't? Because history has demonstrated in every field, it's not the tool, it's how you use it. And that is the individual. And I've had this, again, like I've had this conversation 100 times with 1,000 different CEOs who always like are of the belief that like buying the new system, buying the new tool is the key. I'm like, surely it's your staff that are going to use it. Surely. But that, you decide, Misfits.
Okay. What did you want to talk about before we get to any Ozempic shit?
I'm saving mine to last. We can talk about Ozempic because there's a reason I'm saving it for last, and you'll see. But yeah, so school me on Ozempic, because Broedy, before we got online, folks, Broedy mentioned it to me and I said, I actually don't know what that is. So can you give us a quick overview for any Misfits that don't know, and then why it's such a hype craze in the States right now?
Yes. So in layman's terms, it's a dietary drug. From what I understand, it's injectable and ingestible. It specifically targets your hunger hormones, and that's it in a nutshell. That's Ozempic. That's apparently what it's so funny that we talked about it with AI, right? Like so many people are like, oh, this is the new thing. This is the miracle drug. It's oh my God, it's going to solve everything. It's like, motherfuckers, these have been around. People have used dietary supplements for fucking years.
What was it? Okay, because you mentioned to me before as well that it seems to be either prescribed or anyway. There was a what was its dedicated use? Before people started using it for everything else.
So you really couldn't get Ozempic prescribed unless you were obese. You were clinically...
So it was specifically for
weight and diabetes,
extreme weight loss conditions. Okay.
Right. And Yeah, so here, let me go to my facts, Misfits, because I actually pulled some
Mm.
stuff up and it might even have something in there.
Broedy did research.
Okay, yes, actually I do. Ozempic, a drug originally developed to treat type 2 diabetes, saw a 300% increase in prescriptions in 2023 and 2024, largely driven by off-label use for weight loss spurred by viral TikTok videos. So there's the
Interesting.
premise of the situation that I'm bringing to the table, because that's my issue with it. Is it's kind of the same thing that we're talking about with AI. It's like somebody got on TikTok and was like, "Hey, have you guys heard of this shit before?"
Did you know that if you do, yeah, right.
And the
But that,
fucking thing is, well, look, real quick to relate it to what we were talking about with AI, it's almost like, again, everyone's looking for a quick solution, right? And like instead of like a holistic solution, which may not be quick and it may fucking take some energy and time to get to that solution. But shit, I can inject a drug in me every week and I lose fucking 8 pounds. One thing that's fucking nuts, people, that you're all fucking missing is that the people that are way smarter than you and I are doing research and saying, hey, for obesity, for weight loss, yes, this thing is fantastic. Wonderful. Can't argue that. For everything else, it's fucking up your bone density. It's fucking up your biochemistry
wow.
in your brain. It's doing all of these fucking things that, if in context to what it's supposed to do, you're not offsetting it with something else beneficial, you're
Right.
fucking destroying yourself. But because fucking 10 people on TikTok lost fucking 50 pounds and now
In
no
3
longer,
weeks. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and now they no longer touch Ozempic with a fucking 10-foot pole. It's the miracle drug. What in the fuck, people? Like, it's the same thing to me as steroids, right? Like, a lot of these guys will get on steroids, right? They'll get fucking shredded, and then they'll go do a competition, they'll win a competition, and then they'll get off steroids. Okay, 2 years later, they will claim they are natural. You're a
Right.
fucking idiot. You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You didn't get to that end result naturally at all. Like, not, it wouldn't even been possible to get to the scope that you're at without intervention, and you want to say it was natural. It's the same thing with this fucking weight loss shit. Oh, I fucking injected this into my ass and now I lost 20 pounds. That's all me, baby.
Mm.
What?
Okay, let's to be devil's advocate. Like, what's wrong with a little cheat, Broedy? What's wrong with a little shortcut?
Okay,
You
okay.
know?
Look, I'll say this. In the situations that contextually you have someone that's going to die of obesity or they're going to take a hit from Ozempic, take the fucking hit from Ozempic every fucking time. Please, for the love of fucking God, take the fucking hit. Lose the weight. But as you start to progress down that road, what my natural inclination is, if I'm doing something that's bettering me in this way, would I not want to then be better in all of those aspects? So I take Ozempic, I lose the weight. Okay. Now I need to keep it off. So that's dietary restriction, right? That's actually keeping up with an awareness and a consciousness of what I'm doing. Ozempic doesn't teach that. It simply just does not teach that. Number two, if I want to keep muscle mass and bone mass, I need to work out. Ozempic tells me I don't need to do that. I don't need to. It's wrong. It's simply wrong. And that's the thing that I think is most frustrating. I don't have a problem with it for when it is needed. But at the same time, for these motherfuckers that are 180 pounds soaking wet and go get Ozempic to fucking reach the 150 mark, you're a buffoon. You're a buffoon. You're lazy. You're fucking. It's weird. It's to me. And to be honest, I can't explain my rationale behind that. But to me,
Yeah.
it just strikes me as fucking off, bro. There's something in your brain that says, okay, I can take this and I'm done. It's fixed.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, yeah. That's the silent market for a shortcut, isn't it? Like everyone, because I'm thinking this out loud as I kind of go, because as you're talking, I'm like, well, where did this come from? Like, what were they using beforehand? You know, because if you were going to the gym, you're unlikely to give up that discipline and that commitment for the pill. You know what I mean? Because like you were saying, like, it's not, losing weight is one thing, great, but the tones, the definition, with it comes self-confidence, with it comes cardio, with it comes all these other things that like a quick weight loss pill doesn't deliver.
Cannot replicate.
And to your point, like, once it's off, you then got to keep it off. Like, but you haven't adjusted, like you haven't taken any steps towards your self-esteem or your confidence or even just your general health. So
no, and I think the same thing is social media too. It delivers such quick results that it's almost, there's no time to acclimate, just like you're talking about. I haven't even realized the end result and where I have to be to stay there, because it fucking happened so quickly. I was just 400 fucking pounds and now I'm 200. People don't, that doesn't even connect. That doesn't even fucking connect. And the same thing, the thing that strikes me about Ozempic specifically is in the way that it targets the hunger hormones, is a lot of people complain about having no appetite at all. That, again, okay, we're talking about convenience and solutions and devil advocate, right?
Yep.
Okay. The negatives to all these shortcuts and solutions and fucking bullshit fucking cells, how do they not outweigh that one benefit? That's the logic.
I mean,
it just
obviously
shakes me. I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Okay, you choose not to work out, you choose not to do your dietary stuff, all that shit, acclimated in a 6 month to a year period. You're losing bone density, you're getting fucking diseases, your diabetes is gone, but you have no fucking energy and you have no lean muscle mass, so you have no immunity. All this shit that is just like, holy fuck, bro. Nowhere along the line did you say, yeah, I should probably do something. Like, I don't know. And that's like I said, that's where, to me, I can't explain why that's so aggravating, but that piece of it right there is like, motherfucker, I just want to slap you. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Oh my God, keto's not going to save your fucking life. Carnivore diet's not going to save your fucking life. It's a culmination of things that have the impact. And I'd say that that's in any facet of your fucking life. You want to be a better writer, it's not just about practicing your fucking handwriting. It's about reading. It's about experience.
Into AI and saying, give me a 3,000 word essay. Thanks. You know, it's like, cool. What have
you still got to proof that, motherfucker. If you want it to be worth a salt, like that's the thing that, like I said, with Ozempic specifically, it's like, God damn. You'd have to catch that at some point. At some point.
Two things jump out at me. Like, the first one is, if this is prescribed, like, who's signing off on this?
Oh, bro, I don't even want to talk about it. That's the American fucking medical system. And look, I can almost guarantee you, I'm gonna clip this, Misfits. Clip, so I can pull that. You guys in the US tell me if I'm exaggerating, but the American medical system is 100% a pharmaceutical sales practice. That's what it is. That's 100% what it is. So when you look at doctors, even in, let's just say corporate doctors, right? Let's just say big fucking chained healthcare professionals, they oftentimes take contracts here through pharmaceutical companies to reach a quota to and or refer or prescribe these people these things. That is so prevalent. That is so fucking prevalent that I'm telling you right now that it is not about curing. It's about diagnosing and prescribing. That's, I mean, truly. So when you make that, I think there's been a huge push on the pharmaceutical side that says, oh shit, this is a fad, this is a trend. We've watched how quickly and how much we can sell through social media. We're seeing this pop up now. Let's push this to every fucking doctor and dietitian in the fucking whole of the West.
That's what I don't get, because if this drug is supposed to be an anti-diabetic drug, let's say, and even, yeah, I understand having a preference, like that's the whole point of pharmaceutical reps, is to build relationships with doctors. Even here, it's got,
right,
hey,
right. I didn't want to demonize that completely.
No. But like, if you happen to have depression, here's 3 or 4 pills that we provide, and da 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 da. So you have a preference for them. I get that. But then, but like a 300% increase in prescriptions of this particular drug doesn't correlate
in 2 years.
As I say, doesn't correlate to a 300% increase of type 2 diabetes.
Nope.
Or does it? Like,
nope.
Yeah.
They're actually, that's one of the facts. There is no exact correlation in that context, that drastic of a number for that. And again, that's people using it for weight loss, and that's yes. And to me too, I also asked that question where it's like, okay, so look, I know that's what it's being used for. I know that's what it's being advertised for on social media. I know that's what it's popular for now. But me as a practicing doctor, if I see that you actually don't have, let's say, a physical restriction keeping you from doing something naturally to attain the weight loss that you're looking for, I'm not fucking prescribing you, you lazy fuck. Go to the gym.
But then you don't get your 10%, Broedy, and then like you're missing out on,
Yeah.
But why I'm having one of those moments where do I share this or not?
Yes, you do.
Oh, we're here. Okay, we're here now. Right.
Yes.
Take this with a grain of salt, Misfit, just because I have obviously a dark sense of humor. But the whole Ozempic sort of fad. So it reminds me of a time where I used to date a girl who was a model. So she was quite thin and sort of everything else. But like a lot of young girls growing up, she used to have an eating disorder, right? And then obviously went into modeling, which didn't help and everything. So when the time we were dating, she was more or less adjusted and kind of recovered from most of that. But she would talk about it openly. At least like she had a dark sense of humor about it too. And so it was it's like we'd go for dinner or whatever, and then like she'd go to the bathroom, and then she'd come back and she's like, "Don't worry, I didn't throw up." And I'm like, "Okay, thanks, mate." So it was all sort of kosher between us, right? But
was that ever uncomfortable? Do not lie to me. Was that because
like in the beginning? Oh, bro, in the beginning, 100%, because you meet someone that you like. And then, you kind of get to know them a little bit. And then it turns out, oh, she's, had an eating disorder. And then you kind of it was my first real glimpse into that kind of word. Like she would calorie count. She would know, like she would drink orange juice first, then eat. Because then when she would go to purge, she knows she'd have to keep going until she saw orange. Because that was the orange. Right. So this was the level, like, and then so it was a bit confronting as a young man who has been raised and believes that like all young girls are special and should be cared for and like shouldn't have these sort of issues, and where did this come from, and a little bit of a white knight thing at the time. So just like you want to take care of this girl, but like she obviously had a dark sense of humor about it, and then I've got a dark sense of humor too. So it sort of became this running joke. So. But to get to the point, it was she was in recovery. It's like, yeah, but at least you look hot, babe. Like, but at least you look hot. She's like, I do. Like, I look hot. Like, you look hot. But then it's also, it's not just to the point of Ozempic. It's like, it's not just the act of taking the pill or like the act of purging and doing everything else. Along with it comes a swathe of fucking consequences that when you're a 16, 17-year-old girl, you just do not quantify. She's like, yeah, but like my hair started to fall out, and yeah, my teeth started to rot, and yeah, my skin would be fucked, and yeah, like I would miss my period because my body was traumatized, so, and these are deep rooted, often not quick fix physical problems that
Right.
you don't see, don't anticipate. You're not so ready to talk about and share, with friends or medical practitioners or anyone, So that's hearing you talk about Ozempic and like, oh, well, you can just lose all this weight really, really quick and like nothing bad is going to happen. There are no side effects. It just really reminded me of this relationship with this girl, where, because it's, again, like these sorts of things, the underlying behavior has always been there. And I sort of argue it always has been. Like the same with social media. It exacerbates keeping up with the Joneses. It exacerbates a whole bunch of stuff.
You've made that point. Yeah. And I can't argue that at all. It's too clear once you make the comparison, right? It is just a continuation of some other problem that has always been there. It has always been there. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so that's fucking Ozempic, Misfits, and
crash course in AI, crash course in Ozempic.
And I love you to death, Misfits. If look, I want to say this. I want to qualify this. If anybody's on it and it's making a difference in your life and it's pushing you in the correct direction, I don't want you to feel like I've completely demonized that and you're an idiot or you're a loser for using it. I don't believe that.
It's the abuse of
the
drug.
Exactly. Yes. And yeah, to everybody that's just fucking doing it because they want to lose 5 pounds, you're a fucking
because you want to look hot.
You're a douche. You're a douche.
All right, so this is why I wanted to go last. There's a reason. So and I didn't tell Broedy what I was going to talk about.
Nope.
So how, like, solving the culture war and solving all these social sort of issues. I'm going to take a hard left detour to counterpoint everything we've sort of talked about today. And I'm going to give you a quote from Nick Cave, who, for those who don't know, is an Australian. What up? Australian singer-songwriter, who I think did an interview with Stephen Colbert a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording. And he drops a really baller quote, which I'm going to give to you verbatim now. So, unlike cynicism, hopefulness is hard-earned, makes demands upon us, and can often feel like the most indefensible and lonely place on earth. Hopefulness is not a neutral position, it is adversarial. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism. Each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, such as reading to your little boy or showing him a thing you love or singing him a song or putting on his shoes, keeps the devil down in the hole. It says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. In time, we come to find that this is so.
Wow, I got that's goosebumps. Like, holy shit, yeah.
And this is, if you've ever listened to Nick Cave's music, you're probably aware, like, he is a dark soul with a dark voice. He's also lost two of his sons. They both passed away, like, in his time. So if you've got a father and an artist and a musician who can still sit on stage and make the case for hope, I really like the term and the verbiage that it's an adversarial emotion. It is in defiance of the world around us. And this is why, it's like the image of a lighthouse in a raging storm. So, and this is why I wanted to go last, because a lot of just what's on social, whatever we talk about, a lot of what makes news, like, we all know bad news sells. That's unfortunately the reality of the world. Social media is the same. Even the episodes that we talk about here is normally like, what's wrong? Here's all the things that are wrong with it. Here's why it's wrong. Here's, like, what should we do instead? Right? And there's often little focus on what we have within our control that is good and makes the world a better, what's right. What can we do that's right? and how can we do what's right? And that's why this particular quote really struck me in this timing. Is there may be a lot of things wrong or don't sit comfortably in your world wherever you are, but the potential for you to be safe and valued and cared for, and value and care for the people around you, requires that hope and that care, and you will understand that that's effort, and that's positive effort and love that you can make for yourself and for other people. And I think that's worthwhile in all times, not just now, not just in the age of social media, not just in 5 to 10 years when AI takes over the world and whatever, and the next new fad. It's finding it for yourself. So that's my tidbit there.
Wow.
Thanks, Nick Cave.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you, Nick Cave. Holy shit. Where do I even start? There's two things that I really wanted to touch on. The first being those little moments that he referenced. They in context to the deep, dark, scary emotions we feel, seem so infinitesimal, but it's almost like he was talking about that adversarial nature. It's just living in that moment is a fuck you to that dark, deep shit that you're fucking feeling. And to me, that I'm gonna carry that now. I'm gonna actively practice that to where that is me holding up my own light, you know. And God, fuck, I think more often than not we need that perspective, that you can be your light, right? It doesn't need to be a hobby or a fucking escape or another person or a pursuit. At the end of the day, it can truly be the hope and or effort or action that you take in opposition to that dark, you know. And that's holy fuck, I know it's so simple, but it's so powerful that Misfits, please take that. We need to fucking put that quote somewhere on the website or something. That is, wow, that was really good. And the second thing I wanted to say too is kind of again touching on that adversarial part and the warrior kind of mentality of it. It's almost like we were talking about with AI and even Ozempic, right? There's a level of commitment you're going to have to make with anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's daunting. And it's at times it's lonely. But moving in that direction to me seems so much more hopeful than to stay where you are, you know? And I don't know.
There you go. You brought it full circle, because it's like, sure, you put your phone down and like, oh, but no one else is gonna. Like, I bet if you put yours down first, you'll really quickly find that second and that third.
Yep.
You know, but someone's always got to make that first step for the group. You know.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
There we go.
That's a neat and tidy fucking episode. Yeah, that was a good episode. Thank
AI,
you, Joyce. You didn't fuck me over after fucking 2 hours of research.
Joyce came through, finally. She knew. All right. Excuse me. So that's... No, I've had too much cake. So that wraps up episode 57, Misfits. Episode 58, Broedy. Do you know what's coming up next?
I don't. Just drink. Fucking just
Take a drink, Misfits.
And I'm just stuck on the cake. You said it was good.
Yes.
Flavor and composition can be two different things, my friend. It was the composition of the cake.
The composition is satisfactory. The flavor is good. Like considering it's a cake that I made on my own for myself. You know what? I'm making my own cake and I'm gonna eat it too. So
Fair, fair. Okay.
But coming up next week, Misfits, we're talking about hobbies.
Yes.
We're talking about something fun and light, because everyone needs a hobby. So
Yes.
Broedy and I are probably going to nerd out on what we did as kids and what we're doing now. So
Yeah.
actually,
I'm bringing the nerd pass.
Bringing the nerds back. So you got 2 nerdy misfits hanging out next week. In the meantime, you can find everything you need to know about us at promisfitspodcast.com. You can find all our info, Broedy and I, on LinkedIn and Facebook and wherever else. You can support us on Patreon. You can follow on YouTube and Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, like us, subscribe to us. We're sitting perfectly at 100 followers. So
and those 100 followers are liking and commenting way more. So Misfits, seriously, we love you. We love you.
It's cool to see you in the Misfits and have these chats. Actually, someone called you out recently, Broedy, but we'll talk about that in the next episode.
No.
Yeah, for real. Thanks again to IGU for sponsoring season 5 of the Misfits. In the meantime, I've been Chris.
I've been Broedy.
And you stay classy, Misfits. We'll see you on the next one.